Okay. And we are recording.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, let's get this started. Thank you so much for joining me this morning, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. I am thrilled to be here. My name is Riddhi Gupta. I am the founder and CEO for Rise Enterprise Consulting. It is a practice that I started early this year, focusing primarily on people, product, and organizational agility. I've had over a decade experience leading global transformations, just focusing on those aspects. And that really drove me to really open my own practice. I started out in technology, close to 20 years ago. I'm dating myself here a little bit. I've been in technology, I've been in business, and everywhere in between. And the last decade or so, I kind of fell in love with just the agility, the discipline of Agile, and the principles of Agile, if you will. I started out as a Scrum Master and then climbed the ranks, became a coach, and then a coach of coaches, and then got into training, and then of course started leading and co-leading transformations. My experience has been in financial services, and insurance services, asset management, work for firms like Bank of America, AIG, Wells Fargo, to name a few. I'm also the lead for Women in Agile Charlotte Metro. I actually founded the group here about 2 years back. I was so inspired by Dima and Natalie when I heard them speak at an event 2 years ago. And Charlotte did not have that platform, so I came back and essentially started the group, and we are at 1,000 plus registered members. So if you're in the Charlotte area, please join us every month. And obviously everything is virtual, so you can join us from everywhere. We have a fantastic speaker joining us this month, Roman Pitchler, an international Agile leader, is going to be joining us this month. So you can find us on meetup.com. So apart from that, I am also a founding board member for Agile Week Carolinas, as well as Florex Conference in the Carolinas, both geared towards women and allies. So I'm a really big advocate for D&I. I am married with 2 young kids, and I think Agile principles have followed me in the way I live my life daily. And I'm going to give you a few examples throughout my presentations, which will kind of tie back to the topic here today. So before that, kind of giving you the secret sauce, if you will, let's bust some myths. What do you think is the most important thing that you feel is necessary for the success of an Agile transformation? You can shout it out or you can chat. So quick words here. What are the few things that you feel are important for the success of an Agile transformation? Mindset change. Thank you, Sally.
Collaboration.
Say that again.
Collaboration.
Love it. Collaboration, open mind. I love that. Empathy, leadership buy-in, transparency. Very cool. Give me one more. Patience, innovation. Yes. Yes to all of that. Some of the myths that are out there, and I call them myths, is because people really do believe in them. And unfortunately, that is what leads to the failure of Agile transformations. And I think somebody just said that, patience, right? So the myth there is that the moment you get trained for like a couple of days in some sort of Agile training, all of a sudden everybody is Agile, right? But you're not. You all know that. And that's why you're kind of here to understand a little bit more, kind of peel back the layers of transformation successes. The other myth that you have out there is that it can be done, overnight, or it is something that we can kind of, do big bang. Like the whole firm is moving towards Agile transformation. That's also not true. The one thing that somebody chatted here was innovation. The opposite of that is that, maintaining status quo, that we can take what we have and just apply some training, some coaching, throw in some Scrum Masters in there, and boom, we have an Agile way of working. So obviously that is not true. And the reason I want to be so upfront about those myths or the trigger points for failure is that if you are in a position within your environment where you're either leading or participating in a transformation, you got to look out for these, right? The moment you start feeling that there's training being thrown at you, or there's a flurry of, coaches being, thrown at you, or all of a sudden you're hiring for scrum masters without the right support system, that is a sign that you really truly need to peel back the layers and understand what is the driving force behind the transformation. So I actually was invited to do a podcast last year with a firm, and I actually said this about transformation, and they quoted me on it, and I'm starting to use that a little bit more. I'm not going to lie, transformations are hard. They are very, very sticky and messy. The issue there is we are not being intentional about it, right? We're not really focusing on why we want to transform. So in the past 10 years, I've had the privilege of setting up coaching and execution practices in close to 10 countries. China, Japan, Singapore, Manila, Australia, Europe, a few countries, as well as in domestic US here. And I've concluded that there are three key areas that you need to focus on when it comes to transformation. Of course, you want to look at product and portfolio, but you also want to look at the people aspect, right? Somebody talked about being open-minded, leadership buy-in, having that mindset change. It is really driven by the people who are either leading the transformation or participating in the transformation, which in a way they're also leading at their level. And also organizational agility, which is really huge right now. But transformations are hard, right? I mean, you really need to be focused in these areas to make it a little bit more intentional and really look at it from an aspect of lenses, right? You have to look at them as layers and really tie it all together to be successful. So let me talk to you a little bit about the short-term successes you will see when you embark upon a transformation, which may give you the illusion that, yes, we are being super successful. This is exactly where we want to be, and we are done with transformation. And I say illusion because when you start seeing these successes, that is exactly when you need to be a little bit more intentional about what the next steps look like. These are your short-term gains you will find, which essentially help you gain the momentum, but don't stop there. You really need to take it to the next level. So some of the successes that you will see right off the bat are team structures. You're going to be able to create your 7 to 10 member scrum team. That is the easiest part. And if you feel you're struggling with that right now, let me tell you, when it comes to transformation, that is one of the easiest things you can do, is really create a team. Now, whether it's cross-functional or not, that is something that is open to debate, but you will be able to create your scrum team where you have your developers, your testers, a couple of BAs, your product owners, and a scrum master, right? That is the first thing you're going to be doing essentially from a transformation perspective. Training, right? Everybody and their brother is getting certified and trained in Agile, some fashion or form. And that's the easy thing, right? Trainings are cheap, they're readily available, they're virtual, so you can take them, whenever you want to take them. There's nothing wrong in it, but that's one of the successes when you're embarking upon the Agile transformation journey. Now, the one thing I will say is be intentional about the training, right? Just don't go out there and get your teams entirely trained in just one thing or many things. I think you really need to focus on what is it that you want to do with the teams. That's where the purpose comes in, which we'll talk about in future slides. Consistent velocity, capacity planning. Believe it or not, within 3 or 4 sprints, you're going to be able to achieve that, right? And the moment you do so, you will start feeling, yes, I'm successful at transformation. But that, again, is something that you want to be really intentional about. That is what I call a short-term gain. You want to capitalize on it. You want to start using your consistent velocity as a way to plan your capacity going forward. So again, all of these success criteria are just what I would call stepping stones to the next level of your transformation journey. Backlog refinement, gaining some sort of a rhythm with that will come organically. It will be hard the first couple of sprints, but once you start putting those meetings on the calendars, your BAs and POs are working together, your Scrum Master is really, helping you understand why refinement is so necessary. It will come organically in terms of, a mindset that I have to refine my backlog. Again, the sprint cadence, you know that it's going to be a 2 to 3 week sprint. 1 week in some cases, 4 weeks in some cases. There are a lot of debates out there in terms of what is the best number of weeks in a sprint, but that is something that you can do right off the bat when you're embarking upon the journey. Getting a solid DOD and DONR, right? A definition of done and definition of ready. That is something that will also be somewhat easy when you embark upon a journey, because that is something that you're going to be focusing on when you take a boot camp or you take your Agile Foundations training, right? Now, these successes are definitely meant to be celebrated. Don't get me wrong. Make sure that you're celebrating this part of the journey of the transformation, but also make sure that you're really being cognizant of the fact that these are, again, stepping stones, right? These are your steps that you want to capitalize on, you want to build upon. If these are the successes you see, take a moment to celebrate with the team, but make sure you take it to the next level when it comes to transformation. These are some of the challenges that we see when it comes to transformation, right? Scrum fall, Scrum fail. This is classic. You are in a 2 week sprint. You are essentially coding for 8 days, and then on the eighth day, you pass it on for testing. And let's be honest, that's kind of unfair, right? So then the testing group essentially takes that to the next sprint. So you have your testers in a Scrum team either scrambling to get your testing going or essentially taking it over to the next sprint. So that's where the story, carryover happens. So that is a challenge that you will see in the mature teams. And that relates back to essentially, not estimating your stories properly, not refining your stories properly. So again, something that you can be proactive about and essentially take care of. One of the other challenges you will see is product increment completion. And by that, what I mean is whether it's your MVP or whether it is essentially, your MMF that you're looking at, you will have challenges in completing that. And that may be because of a variety of reasons. And the reasons may be because the backlog wasn't refined, priorities changed, we didn't have the right skill set, there was a lot of story carryover, so on and so forth. Now, these challenges are natural, they're organic, they happen in the mature teams. What I would like, again, for you to think about is how can we be proactive for it not to happen? What can you do upfront so these challenges do not become issues? Self-organization, right? Most of us work in firms where it's highly matrixed. We have a resource manager who leads the development team. We have a delivery manager who leads the project team. So the self-organization aspect or the cross-functionality aspect, it's hard to achieve. Right now, I know in Agile as well as transformations, that is something we strive for. But what I will say is don't get too hung up on that, just because it is something that will happen as the team matures, as the team is able to gain trust with each other, and as the team understands what their strengths are and what their opportunities are. Do not expect that right off the bat. I have seen a lot of teams fall into the rut of, well, we want to be cross-functional, we want to be self-organizing. And to them, I say as a coach, that's a great, great goal for you to work towards. But it is absolutely natural that you may not achieve that the first couple of sprints or even the first program increment. Actual production ready features. How many of us still are dependent on, weekend long releases where the release is actually an event? You really need to focus on creating a tool set like DevOps, kind of bringing that in to be able to enable CI/CD, right? So actually having production ready code will be a challenge if it's not already. Don't be disheartened. It actually happens quite a bit. That is where you need to really look at business value. You really need to look at priorities and also your backlog refinement. Of course, the tools itself. The one thing that people forget is that agility or agile transformations is just not about getting trained, in being a cross-functional or self-organized team, is also having the right toolkit, is having the right tool set to be able to enable functions like DevOps, DevSecOps, so on and so forth. Now, this is something that I really want to focus on quite a bit. And it's really about ensuring that, we look at transformations with a broader lens, right? And this is kind of my opinion, that transformations do fail. I've been in enough transformations to be candid here and share with you that transformations fail, and they fail for a variety of reasons, as I just mentioned before. But personally, I have had success focusing on agility. And let me explain what that means. If you focus on what I call is the big, hairy goal of we are going to transform by year 2023, or we're going to change the way we work completely because that is our vision, I think we're missing the mark there. We really need to be intentional about what transformation means, right? Why are we wanting to change? What is the reason for it? What are the goals we're trying to achieve? So focusing on the nimbleness aspect, focusing on the lean aspect, focusing on removing that big fat from our processes, and really, building the culture of innovation and introducing agility at its core is what will be the core success for you. And what I've really created here is a model that has really worked well for me in the past engagements that I've had. And this is something that my company essentially trains and leads on. You really need to assess the current state, right? I've been in situations where I work with leaders and they want to do agile, right? They want to say, well, I want to be agile and I want to go through transformation. And they bring in a cohort of coaches and trainers and put everybody through training. And after 2 to 4 days of training, everybody and their brother and sister is certified. Nobody knows what to do next, right? And the reason is because each one of us has our own transformation journey. And that's where the people transformation aspect comes in. Um, Even people on the phone here, a lot of you may be a little bit more advanced in your knowledge of Agile and Lean and Kanban and Scrum. A few of you may be a little bit more organizational agility focused. A few of you may be a little bit more product focused, right? So the point being, you really need to assess the current execution state. Where are we in terms of concept to cash, right? Where do we find ourselves as a firm, as an organization, as a group, as a unit, as a team? And then what you really want to focus on is the purpose of the transformation. So let's do a quick poll here. I don't have my polling going on here, but either use the chat window or kind of shout it out. Talk to me a little bit about, do you have a clear definition of why Agile transformation is something you want to do, either at the team level or at the transformation at the firm level? Do you have that vision statement written down somewhere? Have you seen it where your leader or your transformation executive has come out and said, I want to do Agile transformation for the reasons A, B, and C? A yes, no would be great. There you go. A bunch of no's, right? I see one yes, not exactly. So the reason here is, and again, you are in, this is Vegas rules, right? Whatever you share here is, within us in terms of conversation. So that is something that we miss the mark on. And I've been there, right? I've been in a situation where I was brought in to essentially lead the transformation. And I was told, well, because the enterprise is going agile. So as a business unit, we have to go agile. And my first step there, what I did was really meet with the leaders and write down in words on paper, I kid you not, is like, why do we want to do agile, be agile, right? What is the reason for our transformation? And then the next thing I do always is, assess current state, because it may be that I'm working with 3 teams and one team is rocking and rolling and the other 2 teams are just struggling. So you really need to be a little bit more intentional with the other 2 teams. So you also want to assess the tools that you have. Do you have the latest in CI/CD, or if you don't even know what that means, right? So you really want to focus on the tool set that you have. Are you being customer centric, right? How many times have we talked about that customer is king or queen? I learned that when I used to work at the mall. I was 18 years old. I had a job at the mall. Thank you, Rebecca. And the one thing they taught me was customer is always right. How many times within our own transformation journey have we seen that we're not even focusing on the end customer? So you really want to focus on that. And in turn, of course, focus on business value. Then you want to get into the education part. Don't start training teams and users, right? Train your leaders first. Get the executives to the table. Let them go through a mindset change training. Really need to focus on that, because the team, training, like I said, one of the successes was the teams will get trained right away and they will know what to do. But if the leaders are not trained enough in that mindset change, they're not going to be able to create an environment of empowerment, right? The third is adopting and pivoting. It is so, so essential for you to really look at not just team level agile transformation. You have to look at it from what I consider concept to cash enterprise level. Do you have that product mindset? Are you moving away from project delivery to product delivery? Are you looking at your delivery of business value, utilizing the best practices that are out there in the industry? And if you're not, it's okay to pivot, right? Try something out from a framework perspective. If it doesn't work for you and your firm, it's okay to pivot. So that's where the leadership aspect comes in too. Your leaders need to understand that mindset as well for you to be able to be successful. And last, in terms of sustaining, you want to focus on the flow, right? You cannot be stuck in a delivery mechanism or model where your teams are going fast and they are nimble and they are churning out business value, but it's stop and start and stop model. You need to be able to create a flow within the whole enterprise. That's where organizational agility also comes in. And of course, last but not the least, business value. You have to focus on the end user and what is it that is important to them. So make sure when you're defining your purpose, number one, you're bringing your end user into that conversation or a representative of that end user community so they can participate in the purpose for your transformation. And I want to definitely talk about this: measure what you treasure. Focus on progress over perfection. And I've actually included a couple of things that I measure to be able to talk to my leaders as well as my teams as to how they're doing from a transformation perspective. Feature predictability, defect trends, backlog cycle, lead time are a few of them, but also from an end-to-end perspective, if you're looking at transformation success, look at business value, look at epic ROI and net promoter score. And I'll be happy to talk about that if we have time today, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Be happy to share some more details around that. We've talked about this already. Really unlocking the agile mindset is key. Create your vision collaboratively, deliver value, but do it incrementally, experiment and pivot, right? Create that innovation environment. Take some time out of your planning and dedicate it to innovation. Make sure that you're focusing on the customer first. This is something that I want to leave you with. Value essentially is the true north of agility. It doesn't matter what framework you use. You have to focus on the value, right? And you've got to measure, like I said, focus on progress rather than perfection. Incremental delivery is something you want to focus on. Don't forget internal value. And by that, what I mean is, as you, as a stakeholder, as an internal user, as an employee, as a consultant, whatever you want to call yourself, how are you progressing in the transformation? Are you getting what you want to essentially achieve? And of course, account for risks and assumptions along the way. And with that, I now have 5 minutes left. If you're curious to learn more, please connect with me on LinkedIn. There's a lot more where this came from, but I do appreciate you giving me a chance to come out here and share my experience. And I'll be happy to take a couple of questions if we have here on the floor.
We have one in the chat.
Great. So example of measurement, like I said right here, would be, you want to focus on predictability, meaning how many features have you planned, how many you're able to deliver, cycle and lead time, how long does it take for you to essentially initiate a story and complete a story and then release a story into production. I love a release burn up. That's a great measurement if you're looking at it from a product perspective. How committed are we to essentially create features from a prioritization standpoint, and then release it into the business for end user absorption. New product owners, I have a lot of advice there. Keep an open mindset. It is not a new role, but the responsibility will feel newer because you're really going to be, essential to lead the team in terms of what it is that the end user wants and needs. I will say one thing, do not be afraid to rely on your own cohort, whether it is your peers, whether it is the end user community, and learn more about your responsibilities, your really critical role within the Agile framework. So that would be my few pieces of advice to product owners. Thank you. And again, I'm on LinkedIn. Please find me. Like I said, we also have meetups every month in Charlotte. So please join us there.
We got one more. We have 3 minutes.
Great, great, great. Some of the reasons, yes. Some of the reasons people want to adopt Agile transformation is because they want to go faster, better, and cheaper. And that's one of the myths, that you don't go fast. It is not better. Maybe in the long run it is. In the short term, it's painful. And then it is not cheap because you're getting really, you're getting new training, you're creating a discipline. It's like losing weight, right? You got to put in the hard work. But the reason you want to create an environment of agility is to react to markets better. Last year is a great example, right? We had to pivot almost immediately. Instacart was born, Shipt was born, all the services were born because the markets essentially had to respond to end user. So to create nimbleness, to create flexibility, to create innovation, and quite honestly, happy employees, agility is the best way to go forward. Well, thank you for your time, everybody. Find me on LinkedIn. I appreciate it. Thanks, Rebecca.
Okay, thank you so much, Riddhi, and thank you all for coming up and attending our brand new conference session here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Riddhi. This was amazing. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Yes, please reach out on LinkedIn.
I will.
Riddhi Gupta.
I had a question, but I'll reach out to you on LinkedIn.
Perfect. Well, after party there.
Thank you.
Thanks all. Enjoy the conference. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.